You're now listening to the show about the shit in life that's just a bit too much, from the perspective of stand-up comics. With our hosts, Carmelo Bongiovi and Ken Krantz. This week's topic, Stressed, Part 1. With our guest, Vinnie Brand. This is A Bit Too Much.
So, listen, don't get me wrong. Everyone can have an opinion. I don't care. Have an opinion.
Yeah.
If you're on stage and you're using the stage to give your opinion and people aren't doubled over with laughter,
Right.
Stop. Stop, because that's not the job, right? The same way, if you were could you imagine hiring a heart surgeon to give a symposium on heart surgery? And he walks in and goes, man, my wife with these dogs. You're not going to believe. And people will be sitting in the audience going, what are you doing? We're trying to learn how to make sure the aortic valve doesn't blow out. And you're doing two Jews walking on a bar. So I don't care. If you're funny, like Bill Maher, early Bill Maher, like to me, his politics were very not my politics. Mm-hmm, sure. Okay. Now, let me be clear for anyone that might listen. I don't think anyone is. But if someone listens, let's make sure that I'm not some right wing, right? But early Bill Maher was pretty far left.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now,
current Bill Maher, I don't know where he stands anymore.
I think Maher is fully Bill Maher. Well, we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
So early Bill Maher, his politics were, I couldn't disagree more, but he was always funny. Bill Maher made the joke work, and he had a point. Mm-hmm. Dennis Miller was far right, made the joke work.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. George Carlin, highly cynical, made the joke work. All right. So, now if you want to be those guys, you got to be as good or approach to be as good as those guys. When I see some schmo on stage and he's talking about whatever conflict there is, or when they talk about how evil the country is, how evil, and this is really common now. Oh, what's really happening is, hey, you crawled out of high school. Okay. You have zero job skills. Because if you have real job skills, you wouldn't pick this.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. You say that about every comment. Zero job skills.
I tell people all the time, I'm the dumbest guy in the room. Because if I was smart, really smart, I would be doing something smart. I would be like the really smart guys.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how smart Jeff Bezos is, but somehow or another, he convinced my family to order crap from his company 7 to 8 times a day. So whatever smart he is, it's smarter than me.
It's funny because I remember, do you remember when Amazon, the early days,
yes.
It was just books.
Yes.
It was all you can get was books.
Yes. Yeah.
And then he made an announcement like, hey, we're just going to sell everything.
Yep.
And I remember thinking, that's so fucking stupid. That's never going to take off.
Yeah.
Who's going to buy clothes and diapers and
right.
So you're right. Like that's why I'm a comic, because I'm not smart enough to see the big picture.
Netflix not being Blockbuster, like they have their model, and then eventually they were like, "That's not going to work anymore.
Yeah,
we're going to do it this way. It's going to be much easier for people." And Blockbuster was like, "No. They're going to want to come in and pick it up."
Okay, but Blockbuster, their business got disrupted by technology,
but they couldn't adapt to it. Though.
They didn't adapt. If Blockbuster had been a little more forward thinking, they'd be Netflix.
Right. Yeah.
So
definitely.
Netflix. Yeah. Here's how I know I'm dumb. And there's many ways, but this is just some of the highlights. I also said, who's going to buy books online? Okay. Yeah. I'm going to go buy a book online. I don't even buy them online anymore. Well, I guess I do. I buy them on I
read all my books on my phone. I want no more clutter in my life.
Right. Yeah. And you're just reading comic books. Imagine. So I also said Amazon. Okay. I remember when I was in college, a guy knocked on my door. He goes, hey, we have a special this month, whatever it was, for $4.99. You could get HBO. I'm like, well, what is HBO? It's home box office. You can watch TV if you pay $4.99. And I said to that guy, Face to face. He probably tells the story too. I said, no one's ever going to pay to watch television.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's definitely.
Like-
I mean, I think that's most things. When a new thing comes out, everyone goes, whoa, 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 whoa. We don't need that. There's always going to be a part of the pop. There's going to be people who go, yes, like give me new stuff. And there's going to be a lot of people who go, we don't need that. Right? That's what people, I mean, we just had this conversation recently a few times on the show about AI and the resistance of AI and the acceptance of it. Like some people are like, this is fucking awesome. And some people are like, please keep that away from me. It feels like Armageddon's coming. And that's more extreme than the other ones that we're talking about. But you're going to always get that divide of people who don't want new things.
Listen, we're living in an age now where technology is coming so fast and furious that who the hell knows?
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't know. Legitimately don't know if Ken's even really sitting here. I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, we all have wishes and wants, We all have things we desire, but the reality of it is.
No, I think Ken's intelligence has always been artificial.
I'm weird because I'm not nearly as dumb as the people that think I'm dumb.
Yeah, you're not dumb.
But I'm also not.
So wait, you're smarter than people think you are?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
There's people in my life that think I'm dumb, which is something I kind of play into.
Oh, sorry.
But I'm also like the people in my corner that think that I'm actually really smart. I'm also nowhere near as smart as they think I am.
Well, comedy could do that because you could make a really clever point of view. You don't have to have a thorough point of view.
Right.
But you made a really great line that was like an intelligent joke and it could give a false sense. That kind of goes back to what you're saying, though. I think that some comics then believe they're so smart because it does take a certain very specific type of intelligence to do comedy, but it's applicable to comedy, right? It's not applicable. It doesn't mean like you could make a really smart joke and it doesn't mean you actually, that topic even alone, you don't have that figured out, but you made a really, or maybe not intelligent, clever. You made a really clever joke.
More
Yeah, I don't mean to throw words like intelligence when we're talking about that.
I have this thing about intelligence, but to your point, you're not as dumb as people think you are.
Right.
You're dumber.
But the people that think you're smart are as dumb as the people think you are.
Well, that might be a fair point.
Yeah, those people
I'm not going to tell my mom you said that.
No, can I tell you, it makes me laugh because, listen, when I met you, I said, he's dumb. Because
this is the first day
you're a deliberate speaker. So you're not hyper, you're very deliberate, and your jokes, your intonation, and actually, it's, in my estimation, the sign of someone who is smart, because you can be so deliberate and so, I'll use the word control. Now, I used to talk a mile a minute on stage, and I still talk fast. And that's probably a sign of how dumb I am. I'm going to bury you with words, and you're I think he must be right. He threw some words out
so
there.
many. That's interesting.
There's a lot of words because you're covering up. I do. I talk too fast. I'm just like, it's almost like when you have those other things on stage, like holding a mic stand, or like you laugh at your own joke. Like there's certain things sometimes when you cover up because you're a little insecure about how the joke's gonna land, so you just like almost laugh over it, or you just get to your next thing real quick. You're right. You don't do that. But I always thought it was just like you couldn't think of anything else.
I think
sometimes it's I'm forgetting what I'm trying to say.
I can.
That's a good point, though. I do that too.
I can genuinely laugh at something that happened or that I said on stage because if it's a surprise to me, I cannot do the line and do the
Yeah, if you're cracking up on it.
But I also
you knew the line. How are you that surprised?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. We talk about intelligence and comedy, and you hear guys throw out the word genius all the time. And okay, there's an emotional intelligence that's probably more comedic, right? It's emotional intelligence, the ability to understand.
Yeah, for sure it is.
Yeah, right. But actual intelligence, the ability to sit down and go, let me ponder this. Whether, and I think I've always associated intelligence with sciences and math, and that's what I associate.
Right, which so many comics are so dumb with.
Well, here's the thing.
It's a different part of the brain, you know? It's like
The reason I think it's intelligent, math and science and those things, is because those are things I can't do. So I look at it and go, oh my God, they're so smart. Because I can't, right? So,
yeah, but I think you're actually right in that. Like, I understand what you're saying is like when something's out of, like people look at comics and they're like, how do you do that? But they don't think we're geniuses just because we do it. Where you look at a mathematician and you're like, that guy is a genius. That actually, I think it's both. It's amazing to you because you can't do it, but it actually is a sign of true intelligence.
What, like, to be funny?
No. To be like incredibly good at math and science. Like, that is a sign of true intelligence. Humor is not necessary. You can maybe be an intelligent comic, but it's not a sign of good intelligence just because you're funny. Well, like, it's a sign of being clever and witty and fast.
I don't think there's
you're quick.
There's not a lot of scientists where people are like, look how fucking dumb that guy is.
Right. Like, oh, that guy just made one good point. Doesn't mean he's really a G. Like the way we're debating about comics. Yeah. You can't do that about a scientist.
They debate scientists. They debate theory. They debate theoretical.
They can be wrong. It doesn't mean they're not a genius though, right? They can still be wrong, but
no. And I think again, like I know there are some smart guys out there, guys that went to Harvard or whatever, and so there's some intelligence needed to get into an institution of higher learning and graduate and do all that stuff. My issue really is the platitudes that we lay on ourselves, and I think the same thing about actors. And now sometimes I see a scene in a movie, like I just rewatched the Pacino scene in And Justice for All, the summation scene, and I can't do what that guy just did, like pour that emotion into that and drive that out like that, especially when you realize, like, I think I could do the scene one time and it would come out okay. You know what I'm saying? But he did that scene probably.
I like that you do believe you could do that
in one take.
Which is potentially better than what he did. No, he probably had multiple takes.
Now, if this is something you should learn, and this is something that everyone needs to learn, but you really need to learn it to let other people finish their thought. Now, the point I'm trying to make is, no, what I mean is, you could do the emotional component of that, in your style, and you could get yourself to that point. You could do it. You could do it. I could do it. One time. You could say, Vinny, get worked up. This is what you're saying. And you can read those words and try and get worked up. You wouldn't do it the way Pacino did it, but you would be able to get that emotional level.
Yeah.
But when you know that guy did that scene, whatever number it takes.
Like 30 takes over 5 hours. Yeah. You have to keep tapping back into that. Yeah.
To tap in over and over. And so, when we talk about acting, right, I can't. So when I do sketches with people, I don't want to read words. I'm awful at reading those words. And the reason I think I could do Pacino's scene in one time is because I would be doing Pacino.
Yeah.
I would be going, I'm going to get him. I would be doing what he did. Yeah. But it wouldn't be me. Right? So in other words, he's the one that brought it to life. But it's funny. I mean, I love comics. I do. I'm so tired of the self-importance.
But going back to the point before, though, like I think that maybe that idea that comics could, like this false sense of like, oh, they're all comics are geniuses, and the fact that some people say stuff like that, does that maybe give the comics that false sense of like superiority where they start believing it about themselves? Because you really do get a lot of self-important people trying to make points politically, and I think it's a result of this thing that we have now with social and podcasts where people are allowed to pontificate. Like, we have this fucking platform that we just could have because it doesn't.
I think there are
nobody would have gave us.
Nobody's asked for
nobody. Still, it's been a year. Still, no one has asked for this.
So here's the thing. I think that sadly. And by the way, there's some great comics working right now.
Sure.
They're really funny.
Really smart.
It's incredible.
But there's also in comedy, I've met some of the dumbest motherfuckers you would ever want to meet in your life.
There's no doubt that's true.
Yeah.
There's no, and listen, that might be a component of being funny.
No, but I know a lot of unfunny, very dumb.
Well, just dumb, unfunny people.
Like a lot of road hacks.
Yeah. Okay. And
Yeah.
Listen, there's some dumb guys.
But they're also kind of smart because they found a way to make a living out of not being good at their job.
Well, there's some really dumb guys that are funny. And
Yeah.
part of them being funny is them being dumb.
Yeah.
And there are some really super clever guys. Like, I think Stephen Wright is as clever as it can probably get.
He's someone like that kind of comedy I can't even wrap my mind around, because you got to fill an hour with jokes that are no more than 1 or 2 lines.
Yeah.
You're not writing
so
out
many
bits.
jokes. Yeah.
You're not
so
putting
many
filler into a bit. You're not doing setups. It's just bam, 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 bam. I have no idea how many jokes do you think you got to write for an hour for something like that?
Watch him.
Yeah. No, I have it. I have such a respect for that kind of.
Click it.
Yeah.
Because this is what you'll find. I think Jeselnik is great. And I think Stephen Wright is great. But 2 things I admire about those guys. Many things I admire, but something specific. They and Hedberg did it. The pacing, and Birbiglia does it. The pacing is such that they actually get a lot of time out of one joke.
Yeah.
Because Stephen Wright, you know, I live on a one-way dead-end street. I could never go home. That's a lot of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and it's a great joke.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, and there's a lot of discovery in the audience part. So it's a small world, but I wouldn't want to paint it. That's just a long.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
And so you think about how long that joke is out there. And Jeselnik is the king of pacing. I mean, the king of it, in my opinion. Because Jeselnik makes you listen to him. I love Jeselnik. I really do. And he waits. He makes you come to him.
Yeah.
The jokes are all good. Do you like Jeselnik?
I like Jeselnik. So Jeselnik, I love dark comedy.
Yeah.
And he is one of the best writers of all time, I think, of dark comedy. But when I watch him, I'm so aware that it's like a character, and it takes me out of it a little bit. Whereas I know I know Stephen Wright's a character, but I love it, and it doesn't distract me. With Jeselnik, for some reason,
Like, the misdirect is coming and it's going to be dark, but even if you don't know the joke. I guess so. But that's, I guess it's also hard to ask, even though I do want to know what comics think of other comics. At the same time, it's like, but an audience might just be really enthralled by what he does because they don't see the beats coming.
I think that's exactly what's happening. You're in the business.
Yeah.
So you're distracted by your professional knowledge of it.
Anthony Jeselnik might disagree that we're in the same business.
You're in the business. Yeah, I love him, by the way. You know what I like about Jeselnik? I like everything about the guy. But what I really like, if I text him right now, he gets back to you right away.
Yeah.
And
he's like, who is this? Right away.
New phone, who this?
Yeah. But right away.
No, but
I get what
there's so many guys that don't.
Yeah.
And then there are the guys that do. Yeah. And Jeselnik, I'm not name dropping because I've worked with everybody, and there's tons of guys that don't return my call.
Yeah.
And I won't name them either. But Jeselnik, at the height of him getting ready to record that new hour, I texted him, and boom, right back. How's everything? Miss you. Yeah. I know he's not going to do the club again unless it fits into his writing schedule. And so he doesn't need me. And to me, that's always a sign of someone that's, because there's a lot of, our business is full of disappointment and heartache and breakthroughs. By the way, the guys I think are really fun that are quote unquote important, but fun about it. I really enjoy Adam Ray. Have you ever hung out with him?
No.
Oh my God.
No.
He's like,
it's very funny.
He's just a great Shane, which I haven't seen in a long time, but Shane's a great guy. Norman, Sam Morrell. Mm-hmm. These guys are hitting, and they're still very good guys. Attell, who's always been the best, just the nicest guy. And he just, so I have a lot of guys I love. And I think Attell is a smart guy. But, in the set, you can't even take a minute to evaluate if he's smart because you're laughing too hard.
Because he's hitting you so hard.
It's my favorite kind of
Tells
comedy.
the
It's
funniest. He's just the funniest.
smart comedy disguised as dumb comedy.
Yeah. Right.
That's my absolute favorite.
Yeah. He's like almost playing the character of like someone who's bumbling through it, but it's
Yeah.
like these are fucking some of the best.
I think
jokes you'll ever
Shane
hear.
has that. I think Shane has that. I think
Sure.
Bergazzi has that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Bargatze's so good. They're all so good. I love what we do. I mean, listen, I love making people laugh. I mean, it hasn't happened for you, but when it does,
Yeah. No, it'll be great. when it
what a
does.
breakthrough!
It'll be great when it does.
So it's and I enjoy ball busting. I love it. Like just screwing around. I like the camaraderie of it. Yeah.
How much? So Stress opened in like in the in the 90s, right? You guys
91.
opened- 91. So like, I mean, I was just talking about this recently with someone. I always get into these conversations with non-comedians about like what they think comedy is today. They're like, but you can't do anything, right? It's like too woke. And I'm like, I never agreed with that because there was always a place for comedy. Yeah, things change, crowds change. But like as the owner, like, do you think there's a major difference? Like, do you think like, oh, these audiences aren't nearly as good as in the 90s? Or like, do you feel like there is this concerted difference? Because I've had this debate so many times, again, usually with non-comedians or people not in the business, but like people talk like about comedy, like, oh, I don't know how you do it these days. You know, which is bizarre to me from people who are not in the business to think that way. But
Well, they're always, that conversation's always behind the curve anyway, because by the time you're having the conversation,
It's already
it's
cycled
around the
through.
other
Yeah.
way.
I mean, but because
Which I think it is now. It's not really that way, you know?
I don't think it's that way anymore. I think
Yeah.
that now, and then and again, this conversation then becomes, someone said the other day, well, Trump caused that. I don't know. I mean, to me, the moods and the tastes and everything change. The other day we were talking, and there are very few comic magicians, and so
We know a few.
well, a lot of comics will use the word hack, but Amazing Jonathan was pound for pound just busted gut funny.
Yeah.
And someone might look at that and go, it's hacky. I never viewed it that way because it, A, try and write the act, try and write it, and B, this guy sold a ton of tickets. Now,
Right.
once you're selling a ton of tickets, the other day I said, and someone tried to make it an offensive comment. The other day I said, Bill Burr is an everyman comic. And someone said, whoa, like, whoa. Every comic wants to be an everyman comic.
Yeah.
No one's saying, boy, I tell you, last week I sold 500 tickets. I can't wait till I sell 6. Because I want the 6 people that really understand me. Okay, I want the 6. And so my point is that, Amazing Jonathan was a mad ticket seller for a long time. And, but the taste changed. And then, a lot of guys, I don't want to name names, we all know who they are, look down their nose at that.
Yeah.
Okay, they look down their nose at it. And then when they became uber hip, guys that want to be hip looked down their nose at it. Okay, I can't, it's comic, but ventriloquist, Jeff Dunham, listen, you don't have to like ventriloquist. I get it. You don't have to like it.
Right, but you'll take his ticket sales.
I mean,
Yeah, you like it.
You cannot argue.
We don't like it. You like it.
You can't argue with his success. And so,
Yeah, right.
So, when people get into this, it's almost become, in a way, like the rap wars. So, now your question was about
Much less dangerous and much more dorky than the rap wars.
What's that?
Much less dangerous and much more dorky than the rap wars. But so you're talking like the gimmicks though, like prop comedy, magicians. It's only hacky if they're a hack at the humor, right? Like the gimmick is not necessarily the gimmick alone doesn't make you a hack.
Everybody's got,
Like if you're bad at the humor, then you're a hack.
every smart businessman has a gimmick.
Yeah.
So Birbiglia has a gimmick. Now the word gimmick sounds bad. Listen, Mike Birbiglia I love Birbiglia's stuff.
Yeah.
But his gimmick is what he does. Stephen Wright's gimmick was this. Mitch Hedberg became a stoner comic. Early Hedberg wasn't as stoned as late Hedberg.
Right.
But that's what worked. Okay, so the word gimmick really should, you could interchange gimmick, hook, style, right? So everyone has a thing. Now, I forget even what you said, but the point is that the word hack to me, someone called a friend of mine a hack. And I said, that guy's not a hack. He goes, everyone's doing this. And I go, yeah, but he's been doing it for 40 years.
Yeah.
He did it before everyone else was
and he's
doing
doing it better, maybe. You know?
So his style and what he does, and he murders, by the way, he's not a hack. Okay? He by standard, anything that, like, you could say, well, airplane jokes are hack. Not if the joke is great. Now, I don't have any. I don't have any great airplane jokes. But if you write a great airplane joke, what at this point hasn't been covered? What's been covered?
Well, the food's not very good, I've heard.
Well,
I don't know if anyone's done that.
Yeah.
Let's take Mulaney. Mulaney, he's a very smart guy, a very good writer, very good comic. And Mulaney does a bit about Donald Trump being like a horse running through a hospital. Now, what's the gimmick in the joke? And mind you, I love Mulaney, right? Again, nothing is slammer. It's the talk, it's the nasal, it's the exaggeration, it's the repetition. Chris Rock's special, what was the first one?
Wasn't Bigger and Blacker.
No, Bigger and Blacker was lit.
Bring the Pain, or was that Chappelle? I forget.
Sound a little
racist.
It does. I know that as it came out of my mouth, I was like, that doesn't sound
No,
right.
it's fine. So whatever the first special is,
I think it is.
You think about Chris Rock's first special, and you.
I think it was Bring the Pain.
Huh?
I think it was Bring the Pain.
Yeah, maybe. But whatever it was, I don't watch all the specials, and I never watched the full special, but I watched the most of that one. And here's Chris Rock repeating a punchline. And the fourth time he says it's funnier than the first.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that style of like citing it and going back to it.
No one, that is shit. No one gives, that is shit. That is just paying bills. No one say, Daddy, thank you for this roof over my head. Daddy, thank you for this hot water. It's the same punchline.
Yeah.
And it gets better and better and better. Now, that's amazing to me. But that's definitely a hook. It's definitely a gimmick. It's whatever you want to call it. It's a delivery, a style.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, to me, someone that can say the same punchline 4 times in a row and make it funnier 4 times in a row. That's next level good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, we know a few comic magicians that are funny.
Yeah.
They're very funny. But like what it is? Like, I'm a kind of person, if I see a magician, not a comic magician, like I'm annoyed at them. Like, magicians. Like, magicians annoy me, right? So like that will automatically be like, oh God, but then you listen to like a Harrison Greenbaum, like he's hilarious.
I've heard he's great at it.
He's hilarious, right? He's so goddamn funny, and also like he's not always just doing straight stand up too, but he's very funny. So it's like. We had Danny Braff in studio, which again, it's not like he's doing comedy and magic at the same time, but he graduated
from magic to comedy.
Yeah. He was like,
is that the word he said?
No, that's the word I just came up with.
Yeah.
Because again, we were talking about comedy magic, right? That style, like I want a comic magician, in the club, because it hasn't happened in so long. I'll tell you what, there used to be 40 guitar guys.
Yeah.
There were 40 guitar guys.
I mean,
Gary Delane is still doing it. And he kills on stage. And you could say whatever you want about a guitar act too. Stephen Lynch, was as big as it gets. But name a current young guitar guy.
Yeah.
Who's the piano guy? So good. Bo Burnham.
Oh, I was about to say Chris Covert.
Cover's good, but
that's just our local one.
Well, Bo Burnham,
he's the closest here to you.
Chris Covert, of course, Craig Robinson, and then what's the missing one? I just had it in my head. Burnham. For a while, Zach would play with the piano on stage.
Yeah,
and you talk about another. I remember seeing Zach the first time seeing him, and it was at Stand Up New York, and he had a piano. I remember the back, and I wasn't paying attention. I'm like, oh man, what is he doing? And so I started listening, and I'm like, oh, he's killing. It's very avant-garde. Very, you know,
right.
So it's fun, but you know.
You know, the first show I ever saw, the first comedy show I ever saw was at Stress.
Well, who was it?
In my 20s. And it was Richard Lewis.
Oh, wow.
And
you saw Richard Lewis on the weekend of the Rhode Island fire.
Bombed.
Yeah.
He bombed.
Really?
In my memory, this was like 20-something years ago. I was the only one. I was cracking the fuck up. And I remember, I couldn't tell you who it was, but I particularly remember the feature going up. And the feature struggled a little bit, but I remember watching the feature and thinking like, oh, I think I could do this.
Like specifically that part of the show?
Yeah.
Like,
I was like, just go up, talk for 20 minutes. I think I could do that.
Yeah.
And now here I am 20 years later, a feature.
Bombing at Stress.
That's very funny.
Bombing at Stress in the feature spot.
You know, today, everyone's a feature until they can fill the room.
Yeah.
And then they're a headliner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you should never, listen, in the grand scheme of things, if they book me at the Improv tomorrow, it's either Monday night or I'm featuring.
Yeah.
And, you know.
And by the way, like I still love the feature spot. Like it's cool when you could close and do 45 minutes an hour. But the feature spot to me, it's like
there's no pressure.
Right.
Like you're just like, they're not even here for me.
You're
gonna hit them by surprise. Yeah.
They all expect you're gonna suck. So even if you're okay, they have a good time.
Right. There's that funny thing that happens sometimes when there's a big headliner and you go up and they're annoyed that you're going. Like when they hear your name, they're like, what? There's someone else? Like, you know, like especially like there's some people out there, especially with like TikTok and stuff, that have big audiences that are not necessarily stand-up fans. They're fans of that person. And you could see it. Like the second someone else goes up, they're like, God damn it, get to the fucking headliner. And that's a kind of a good spot to be in because you could really surprise those people.
The feature spot is the sweet spot on the show. The
it's
MC has to go warm it up.
Yep.
And the headliner has to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons at the club, you can still hear me fine if I'm back, right?
Yeah. Kahuna, you hear Vinnie all right?
It's an interesting setup.
See you awake.
What you guys did. You guys gave yourselves comfortable chairs you could sit up in. I have to hold posture on this reclining couch.
I thought we were being kind. Yeah, but I'm too fat for this chair. This is like, I'm like trapped in here.
No, you're good. So the feature spot, that's the golden spot.
Yeah.
Right. But I love it all. That's why when we opened the club, we wanted to be a performer's room. And so there's no check drop in our club. And the check drop is one of those things that destroys the show. And not having one, it makes perfect sense, yet people still do it.
That is, by the way, one of the absolute best things about your club is that you don't drop the check in the middle of the headliner set. It's such an easy thing. And so many clubs just don't do it.
Right, because from an operations point of view, it makes sense to drop the check. Like you're like, all right, this is the time when we got to wrap it up. But it just fucking, it's just awful. You know, it's just awful.
There is absolutely, I don't mean to correct you. There is absolutely no environment where you're paying to see a show that a check should be dropped during what everyone would argue is supposed to be the best part.
Like the climax.
Towards
the end of the show as they're building up to their grand finale.
And it's businesses that are afraid of losing, someone that runs out on a Coors Light bill. And there's just no excuse for it. But that's the thing that I love most about the Stress Factory is our staff has been, I'll use the word cultivated. If they don't love stand-up comedy, you just can't work there. Because we'll find you and we'll get rid of you. Yeah. You have to love what we're doing. And you have to want to impact on someone's life in the audience. And you have to want to be around comics. And you have to want all that. Every now and again, we'll get a guy in who's known for going long. And I'll hear someone complain. And I'll pull him aside and say, hey, you don't have to work here. And immediately the response is, no, I'm good. Because they understand, right, what we're doing. And, to aggrandize it is not what my intention, but we tell our staff when they walk through the door, they have the option in the New York metropolitan area of going to 20 Broadway plays, of seeing stand-up comedy at 1 million theaters within 45, 50 minutes, an hour. There used to be other comedy clubs, but there's still a couple. They have the opportunity to see the Yankees, the Mets, if the Islanders and Devils and Rangers are playing, the Knicks. This is the entertainment capital of the world. You can go skydiving, you can go to Topgolf, you can go race go-karts. You can do so much in our area. So when they walk in, they're choosing you. And then the thing that we drill in their heads, they're not here by accident. They're here because they need to celebrate something, or they need to commiserate and heal because maybe they just lost a family member or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be with their friends. They need to get away from it all. But they're there for a reason. And once you acknowledge that, then our staff that's drilled into their heads. Once the staff acknowledges that, you can create an environment of actual genuine concern that this is going to be a good experience. And we do it at the restaurant. And now we opened the new club last night. Did you know that?
No.
We'll get to that next. You thought I just agreed to this as a friend. But the point is that, no, so it's that culture of you have to care.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? To that point, you know what I never understood? When you have a light crowd and a comic will then shit on the crowd that showed up.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, you fucking 10 people. And it's like, whoa, those are the only 10 people that wanted to see. Like,
right, it's the other empty 90
here.
seats. You should be mad at the empty 90 seats.
Be mad at the empty seats. Don't shit on.
That's all insecurity of the moment coming out of the pores of that comic. Like, that is the comic going, I've done it. I've done it.
Could also
I've been
be
angry
a comic
enough at a crowd there where it comes out. I've done it.
It could also be a comic choosing to address the obvious. If it's done well, it wouldn't matter.
No, you can address the, that, oh, I'm here telling jokes to you 10 people. Like, you can address it.
You're saying when it comes out angrily.
Like, when it comes out like you're actually mad.
Yeah.
It's well, what are you mad at them for? They paid their money. They're here.
Right.
Entertain who's here.
And Ken's going to walk half of those people anyway.
I'll tell you 2 great stories. So the first is Hedberg. We had Hedberg in, and he did Letterman on Wednesday night. Thursday night, pretty good crowd. This is right before he popped enormous. So Thursday night crowd's good. He goes up on stage. He said, anyone see me on Letterman? Not one person clapped. And he did that all through the weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. He's working Sunday too. And he had 5 audiences on Thursday and Friday and Saturday. And literally not one person saw him on Letterman. So Sunday night, we had a reservation count of approximately 50 people. And this is before hard ticketing. And so that night, 12 people show up. So Hedberg's in the back. He's got the hair. He's hanging out with Lynn. And he goes, we got to cancel the show. So I go, Mitch, we got to do the show. I mean, we're expecting more people. I need more people. I can't work for 12 people. So I go, Mitch, I'm going to go ask him. So I go up to the audience and say, listen, guys, we had a bigger reservation count, but unfortunately, we just didn't get a lot of people. So we're going to cancel the show. And this woman goes, no, we can't even see him. I saw him Wednesday night on Letterman. I want to see the show. So I go back up. I go, Mitch, they want to do the show. And he goes, I can't do a show for 12 people. I'm between 12. So I get back out and I say, listen, we're going to pay for all your food and beverage. We can get tickets for the show. We're going to refund your money. So now we're giving you back the money you paid. We're giving you tickets for a show. Anything you ate and drank, you're free, but we're canceling. Woman goes, no. I go, man, it's hard to do a show for 10 people. She goes, I didn't come to be with 200 people. I came to see the guy I saw on Letterman.
Yeah.
So I get back up to Mitch, and he breaks character at the bar with me. He goes, Vinny, I can't do a show for 12 people. I go, Mitch, let's just do the show. We'll just get through it. So I introduce him, and he had said all weekend long, he said, anybody see me on the David Letterman program. That's how he did it all weekend. He gets up on stage, he goes, has anyone ever seen me? Or anyone seen me Wednesday night on the David Letterman program? And the whole audience, 10 people. Clap.
Yeah.
And he goes, all weekend long, I've been asking that question and nobody did. He goes, my people are Sunday people. So then he, not only does he do the show that he didn't want to do, he tells me he can do 45 because I'm doing 45, I'm done. At the 1 hour mark, he says, do you guys want to see what my act looks like in front of an actual real audience? He has the tape from Letterman and we play it. It was a VHS. Someone recorded it. It was a VHS.
That's funny.
I mean, he recorded it.
Yeah.
We play it. Place goes ballistic. He does 2 hours. He ends the show doing body shots off one of the audience members and then takes them all out for drinks. At the end of the night, he says to me, this was the most fun I had in a long time.
That's so great.
Right.
That's cool.
The other one involves me, but it's an ugly story.
Yeah.
So we had a show for a very large group. They come every year. I can't tell you the group because they just started coming back because this incident ended that. And it's like 300 people. And 2 people that weren't with the group come in on a Thursday night. And this is so long ago, the sound booth was actually where the green room is now. Mm-hmm. So I'm back in the sound booth and I'm dating Vicky. This is 96. And I see Vicky go into the ladies' room. And then out of the corner of my eye, I see a guy go in the ladies' room. And I'm like, did I just see a guy go in the ladies' room? And 2 seconds later, I hear Vicky scream. And I go in the ladies' room. He's got the stall open. Vicky's, getting dressed. And she's like, get out of here, get out of here. And I just hit the light. So I grab him. I throw him off the bathroom wall. I grab him by the back of his head. I got a big clump of his hair. And I bounce him off of every wall in the back of that club. I'm boom, boom, hitting him in the table. Mm-hmm. I get him a door and I throw him out. Well, as I'm throwing him out, 2 girls come up and go, what are you doing? He's with our group. I go, I don't care. He just went in the bathroom and went into the ladies' room. And the girl goes, it doesn't matter. He's gay. And I said, it matters. Yeah. Now, it's a long time ago. And if anyone's upset, it's a long time ago.
Dude, absolutely no one's going to hear this. Don't worry.
So the girl gets pissed off and she tells everyone that we just threw the guy out. And 300 people walked out of that club.
Oh my God.
En masse. 300 people up and out. So I'm like, God damn it.
Jeez.
So, there's 2 people sitting in the front. I walk up to him and I go, hey man, I'm really sorry. I guess you're going to cancel the show. He goes, why? I go, well, the audience just left. He goes, we're here. I go, sorry, I can't do a show for 2 people. It'll be terrible. He goes, no, it won't. I don't laugh because of the audience. I laugh because of the comic. We did a show for 2 people. It killed because the 300 already paid.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're getting paid. And we did a show for 2 humans. They were great.
And then Richard Lewis bombed and Ken's eye healed from being bounced off the wall.
Was the group glad? I'm guessing.
No.
I'm kidding.
No, it was one of those moments that I regret.
Yeah.
But to be fair,
what were we going to do?
He didn't just go in the ladies' room. He went to an occupied stall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and no. If you didn't do anything,
you should probably let somebody know. By the way, like if that's, hey, is it all right if I use the,
Can I tell you something?
No, you stopped a potential assault. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I don't know what would have happened, but you're
right. No, I mean, what were the intentions of opening a stall with what? You know what I mean? Like, you can't look at that, I think, and go like, oh shit, it was a rough night. What else were you gonna do?
Right. It's not like you did it because you knew he was gay. You did it because it was a dude yanking off the stall door.
I had no idea.
Yeah, of course.
And when I went in the bathroom, she was saying, just leave, close the door, just leave. And he was standing there talking to her, going, no, it's fine, it's fine. So, I don't know his intentions.
Yeah.
I do know.
Maybe he wanted conversation.
I do know that if you have someone by the back of their neck, their hair, it's very hard for them to retaliate. You can bounce them off a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not a tough guy. It went right.
Right.
That's all. I went right. Vicky saved me one day. There was a beast in the men's room kicking us all down. And I went in there and I said, hey, what are you doing? And the guy goes, I'm just having fun. I go, well, I'm the owner and you're paying for that. And this was a Rutgers medical, Rutgers pre-law enforcement wanted to be a cop. So I go, you're paying for that. He goes, no, I'm not. Who the hell are you? I go, I'm the owner. I go, and we've already called the cops, which we had not. And right away he goes, oh, no, please. I'm a straight A student at Rutgers, and I'm going to become a law enforcement. This will screw my whole career up. I'm so sorry. I go, sorry. I go, you just did a bunch of damage. He goes, here's my credit card. Charge me whatever you need to fix it. Please don't call the cops. So I go, well, you're leaving. He goes, I'll leave. But he's this huge dude. And he's a real good looking guy. And so I don't have to manhandle him, thank God. But I have his left wrist in my hand and my hand on his back. And I'm just escorting him out of this club. It's a dance night. When we first opened, we had dance nights. And some girl jumps on my back because he's a good looking guy and she likes the guy. And then another girl jumps on my back. And I'm like, I just put my head down. And I'm just like plowing through the door. And the guy just wants to leave. He's not fighting.
Right.
He doesn't want the cops called. He doesn't care. So we're getting everybody out. And all of a sudden I see Vicky come tearing at us. There was a girl behind me with a beer bottle up over her head. She's going to crack me in the head with a beer bottle. And Vicky tackles the girl. And now one of the bouncers helps me get outside. And we get the whole crew outside. And the guy hands me his credit card. He goes, what do you think it'll be? I go, it's probably $5,000 of damage. He goes, just charge $5,000. If you need more, take it. I charged $5,000 on his credit card. I think it cost us $4,200.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
But I didn't refund the money. But the best part was, after the credit card was run, he goes, I'll leave. I go, well, I said, you've been a gentleman. You can't do any more damage, but you're welcome back in. So him and the two girls that were on my back, I let in. Well, the girl with the beer bottle goes, well, not you. You gave me a head with a beer bottle. She was the only one we threw out.
That's so funny.
Is that the most violent situation you've ever had at the club?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had a couple.
Did you tell her it was a 2-drink minimum and she had to throw one more at you before she left?
That's very funny. We've been pretty fortunate. Not a lot of bad things happen.
My wife came to see me at a show and she brought some of her friends.
Wow.
She wasn't my wife at the time we were dating, but she brought one of her friends and her friend had a little too much to drink, but also took an edible. And It hit her very bad and she ended up throwing up right in front of the entrance. Wow. And this is the first time I'd invited, my wife's friends to see me. And I look up and I just remember thinking, I just hope anybody but Vinnie is the one that catches this. And, I'd walked her out to the tent. I was making sure she felt better. And then I look up and I see Vinnie hitting it with the hose. And I was like, God damn it, And she was so embarrassed. But then you were so cool about it. You were smiling and whistling. And then I realized, I was like, you know what? You think you're the first person to throw up in front of? I was like, this isn't even going to make the top 20 worst things that they had to deal with tonight. Forget all weekend, tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And were we friends already?
Yeah, no, this was just a couple years ago.
So, New Year's Eve is always a fun night. And
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. You've never had me work there on New Year's. I wouldn't know.
He wants it to remain fun. He wants it to be a fun night. Why would he invite you?
New Year's Eve is not a night for dark comedy.
Yeah. I'm also, I don't think I'm as dark.
You used to be very
I used to be. Yeah, I'm not so dark anymore.
You're not lighthearted either.
So New Year's Eve after the show,
you're not a good time.
People dance. And when they dance, the bar's open.
Yeah.
And so that cost you money that whole time, but we don't mind it. It's not that bad. And there was a woman in the front row, and we saw she was getting drunk during the show. And I cut her off, and I said, she was with her father and her sister. And I said, and she's an older woman. She's older as in she wasn't a kid. So she's, 35, 36 years old enough not to do this. And so I said, we're going to cut you off. But they're going to the hotel. So they're walking There's no driving involved. And so we cleared the dance floor. And now this time from, call it 1 to 3, it only cost you money. Because all the money's been paid.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're just dancing and drinking. You're running staff hours. You're running. So we get everything clear. And I don't mind. I'm happy people dance. So this New Year's Eve, she starts dancing and she's drunk and she starts whipping herself around. And all of a sudden, like a sprinkler, she pukes.
Oh.
And it
In spin,
twice.
mid spin.
And it was the worst smell.
Yeah.
Whatever she ate.
Ugh.
And the club cleared out in about 15 minutes.
Oh, you should pay her to come back every year.
I'm so happy.
That's how you close the night.
I mean, and she cried and cried and cried. But, what do you do? We had a girl one year on New Year's Eve, but it didn't empty the room. It was before midnight. And she was drinking. I said, hey, I go, slow down. It's a long night. And she goes, I'm going to drink all these assholes under the table. I listen, we're not going to serve you. You're intoxicated. She goes, I've already been pre-gaming. So now, as a liquor establishment, that's not the favorite thing here.
Yeah, yeah.
So I go, all right, we'll keep an eye on her. And I come by at New Year's Eve, and we just did the ball drop. So there's comedy after the ball drop. And we're going around table to table, and she's completely passed out on her table, head down. She's only been with us for an hour. The server tells me she had 2 drinks, which we confirm. And her friends are like, look at her. She's got drinks on the table. Look at her. And we're all laughing. And right while I'm watching her, laying down, she goes, up the whole table, pukes over everything. And we clean it up. They take her to the hotel. But her friends are miserable the rest of the night. And she came back, and she's crying, and she's going, I don't know what happened. And I'm like, I think throwing up on your friend's New Year's Eve outfit is never a good thing.
Tune in next week for part 2 of Stressed with our guest, Vinnie Brand.